Welcome to your Real Estate Review with Alan Canis of Engel and Völkers, Silicon Valley, your weekly getaway to the pulsating heart of the global real estate market. Join us as we bring you exclusive interviews with top producing real estate agents from around the globe. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or just a real estate enthusiast, this is your insider look into the pros, cons, and the captivating allure of the world's most sought after locations. Let's discover where your next dream home awaits. Buckle up for a real estate journey like no other. This is your Real Estate Review with Alan Canis of Engel and Völkers, Silicon Valley. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Review with Alan Canis. That's me, of Engel and Völkers, Silicon Valley. I want to welcome PollyAnna Synder from the fabulous Bozeman, Montana. Hello, PollyAnna. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Alan, I'm so thrilled to be here today. Thank you so much. And you'll see we've got a sunny day behind me. We've had a little bit of snow the past couple of days. And so we're thrilled to have some sunshine and glare for you today.
Okay, great. Well, the glare's been minimized. And PollyAnna, I've seen you present so many times on stage at so many different events with our peers, from Realm to Engel and Völkers to the EV event. So do you get nervous when you see when you see me when you're on stage, or you see other famous friends?
Well, actually, having been born in the South, I was given the gift of gab
Okay.
in my family. And so over the years, and I think we'll talk about maybe what I did before real estate in a little bit, but just over the years, I've been able to speak a lot. And I've known you for so many years now. I just love to love on you and love to hear you speak and love to hear you share your experiences. And the more I do it, the more I really enjoy it.
Oh, that's great. I wasn't sure if you went, oh my God, there's Alan Canis. I have to do X, Y, Z.
I bathed.
Too funny.
Absolutely. But you're a wealth of knowledge. That's why I said when I sat down for, our time together today, I wanted to have a pen and paper with me, because I know you're going to have tidbits and words of wisdom for me to take with me and take back to my team.
Oh, great. The pressure.
The pressure's on.
The pressure's on.
Something profound. I need something profound.
Okay, I will think. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your background in real estate and what got you started?
Absolutely. Growing up, my father was in the military, so we moved a lot, and I've lived all over the country. And through various moves, my parents had good experiences and not so good experiences in buying and selling homes. So I watched that. I grew up around it. And sometimes we lived someplace for 6 months. Sometimes we lived someplace for maybe, 3 to 4 years. But always watching them buy and sell homes. And then once I graduated college, I moved a lot and continued to move around the country. And it wasn't until about 1998 that I decided it was time to take a stab and leap into the real estate industry. And did that in California. And my husband and I had actually gone through a really bad real estate transaction. And we looked at each other one day and said, you know what? We both come from a sales background. And my family's always told me I could sell ice cubes to Eskimos. But you know what? My response to that is Eskimos don't need ice cubes. It's knowing what your clients need and what their goals and aspirations and needs are.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? With some organization, integrity, and fortitude, we can make a go at this. And that was back in 1998 is when we first dove into real estate in Southern California.
Wow. My daughter called, she's 12, and she says that I'm from the 1900s. That sounds so long ago.
My children are now 20 and 23. My children call it the olden days, back in the olden days.
Yes. What made you decide to get into real estate? What was that final decision maker?
I really enjoy the process. So I share with my clients, I share with our fellow advisors, I share with other agents that I work with, is I see my role is that we're here to meet people at a crossroads. Okay?
Yeah.
And a very important one. And it's high finance and it's high emotion. But we're meeting people at a crossroads. They're getting married, they're getting divorced, they're upsizing, they're downsizing. There have been births, there have been deaths, they're relocating. It's a crossroads. And it's a crossroads, again, with a lot of high finance and high emotion. It's not rocket science. In a previous life, I was involved in rocket science, but there's a lot of integral steps into what we do to help people reach their goals and their needs as far as their housing and many times their relocation needs are concerned. As I tell my clients, I like shouldering that burden. They've got enough going on, and I like helping them begin the process, help them through the process, and then across the finish line to whether they're moving into Bozeman, they're moving out of Bozeman, or maybe they're moving to a new house. Again, I find myself helping a lot of clients downsize these days.
I'm finding that downsizing is my number one, besides, of course, death, unfortunately, and divorce. But it's really the need for these big houses when the kids have moved out. It's time to downsize into something either that has that's one level that fits so that the grandkids come and visit, but not and they don't, the grandeur isn't there, the needing this big home.
They don't need 7, 8, 10,000 square feet. They might be okay in 2,500.
Yes, exactly.
Depending upon the size of their family and what they do. So yes, there's a lot more downsizing than there is upsizing these days.
I figure at some point there's going to be where they're going to make a house where that has the bigger dining room, but the smaller everything else, because my clients still want to entertain their family and as they're growing.
Exactly.
What are some of the unique features of Bozeman attractions that make it a destination point for people looking to relocate?
It's a simple yet a complex answer.
Mm-hmm.
We began our real estate career in Southern California, late 90s, working for some developers. As we started having children, went into residential real estate in the Orange County, California market. Left California at the end of 2006, moved to Western North Carolina, was there for about 18 months. From there, moved back across country, because I always say once you live out west, you can't move back east. And I'm from the East Coast. I thought we were moving closer to my parents. So my parents live in southeastern Virginia. We were living in southwestern North Carolina. And the drive for them was just as long, if not longer, than flying to Southern California.
Oh.
So, and my parents, quite frankly, didn't need to be doing all that driving at their age. So we left Western North Carolina, moved to Telluride, Colorado, went to work for some developers there. And that was around 2008 and 2009. And unfortunately, we had the Great Recession and the absolute, crash in the real estate market. And as I always said, we couldn't give real estate away with a gold brick. People would like a gold brick, but we couldn't give them a house. They were like, no, don't give me any free real estate. So we were offered a position to come to Bozeman. My husband was offered a position here in Bozeman, and it was important for us to stay in the Intermountain West. It was important for us to have a lot of sunshine. So Montana is a very large state. We are fourth in land mass. There's Alaska, California, Texas, and Montana. And we are a huge state with only about 1.1 million people. And to give you some comparison, and I made this comparison one day for our headquarters in New York, the entire state of Montana's population is about 1/10 the population of the island of Manhattan, New York.
Wow.
So a lot of land mass, not a lot of people, though the past 5 years we've had a lot more folks moving here. So it was important to stay in the Intermountain West. Great weather. We get all 4 seasons. Yes, we do get snow. Yes, it does get cold, but it's a dry cold. It's not a humid cold. And coming from the East Coast, I understand humid cold. So it's very dry. Get a lot of sunshine. We've got 2 ski resorts here. We've got our local ski resort, which is Bridger Bowl. I mean, it's just right down the street over here. And then we have Big Sky to the south of us. And that, from our house, that takes about 50 minutes to get to. So we have, and within that realm, we also have incredible fly fishing and hunting and rock climbing and hiking and biking, just a plethora, world-class fly fishing. So we have a plethora of options here for things to do year-round. Now, 2 of the bigger items that I think make this Bozeman and Big Sky area very special is that we have the busiest airport in the state. So we have the most direct flights. We don't want to have too many direct flights, just enough to maybe get you here in 1 or 2 flights. But we have the busiest airport in the state. And we also have the largest university in the state of Montana. I'm a huge college football fan, whether it's football or basketball or track and field, or we have a world-class skiing team at Montana State University as well. And living in a university town provides an energy and events and resources that a town this size wouldn't normally have. And that's all packaged up here in Bozeman, Montana. So all those elements combined were what drew us here. All those elements combined is what's drawing other people here as well.
Montana, I always hear positive. It's not like some other areas where you hear negative, and positive. People are drawn to Montana. I feel that once they visit Montana, they want to stay. I have not yet visited Montana. It is on the list because, as you know, my daughter is skiing and she does double black diamond. So we are starting to make the trips because now she's of age where we'll travel with the skis and she can go off on her own, etc. So I will be making a trip there at some point. Stay tuned.
Well, good. She can ski with my 2 children and my husband. I'm a very fair weather skier. I mean, having grown up in the South, we didn't have a lot of snow. I'm not the world's best skier.
I'm okay.
Very fair weather.
I'm okay not skiing, so I don't snowboard or ski anymore. So it's one of those things where I realized that I could really get hurt as I've gotten older.
You can really get hurt and you can get cold. So you can come out, we can sit in the lodge by the fireplace and
Perfect.
watch them.
I love it. What is the excitement of why people are relocating? Is it are the businesses there, the corporations? Is it just second home more? What would you say?
Those are really good questions. So let's split that kind of into Bozeman is a primary residential community.
Okay.
We've got the hospital, we've got the university. As I always say, we have Costco and Target. So we're your primary residential community.
I love that.
Okay. And then you have Big Sky that's, depending upon where you're driving from, it's 45 minutes to an hour south of us. Now, Big Sky is primarily a secondary home market. People are primarily just coming during ski season or during summer. I mean, we are very desirable in the summertime. You know, great weather, again, great fly fishing, hiking, biking. We have a plethora of things to do, in addition to just studying the history and seeing the terrain of Montana. Oh, and little things like Yellowstone National Park and then Glacier National Park.
That.
Yeah, small little detail. So we are a big draw. Now, let me give you a comparison. You remember I just told you that we have a population of about 1.1 million people. I don't know the numbers yet for 2024, but in 2023, we had over 12 million tourists come through our state. So
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people that come, and then they see it and they fall in love. Again, in the summertime, because we're so far north, much like Canada, the sun is up by about 5:30 in the morning, and the sun doesn't go down till about 10 or 10:30 at night. So we have very phenomenal long days with a lot of sunshine in the summertime.
And that's wonderful because we have long days here as well. And as soon as that time change occurs, it's like, I feel everybody just starting to drag a little bit. The other night it was 5:30 and it was dark. 5:30, 6 o'clock, it was dark. And my husband, Casey, and I, we were getting ready for bed because you just forget. And so
by about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I was looking at everybody going, well, it's time for dinner and time for bed. So
exactly.
now Alan, go, I don't know, another 1,000 miles north.
Yeah.
from where you are. And so we're approaching, I always say, one of my favorite dates of the year is December 21st because it's typically the shortest day of the year.
Yeah.
And then we're back on the upswing again after that. I start to notice the change like around Valentine's Day. I kind of wake up and go,
Oh.
it's getting better. And then we turn our clocks forward and
Yeah.
we lose another hour and we've got to build it all back again. But we
It's just
do
a
in the
cycle.
summertime. I mean, by, golly, I'm going to say by like mid-April, you're really starting to get those longer days. Mid-April to mid-August, we really, and then by about mid-August, you start to go, okay. It's starting to turn a little bit earlier now.
I know that people are interested or excited to hear about how the real estate market. How would you describe the current market in real estate for Bozeman?
Well, let me give you a little history. Back during the last recession, so let's define that as say 2008 to 2012.
Yeah.
It was bleak countrywide. And it took its toll and it hit Bozeman as well. However, we did not fall as hard and we rebounded quicker. Okay, now that was before COVID, that was before the show Yellowstone, that was before all of that. Okay. Then in 2016, 17, 18, and 19, Bozeman was the fastest growing micropolitan in the entire US out of about, 500 plus cities. A micropolitan being defined as a municipality under 50,000 people. Now, when I say Bozeman, yes, I'm talking about the incorporated city limits. I'm also talking about our surrounding area. But for this measurement, it was the incorporated city limits. So under 50,000 people. So for 4 to 5 years, we were the fastest growing micropolitan. That was before COVID. That was before Yellowstone. Then COVID, and then Yellowstone hit. And as COVID hit, we all kind of held our breath for about 10 days to 2 weeks. And then COVID was over in Montana and the world just exploded. And people were looking, this was their opportunity to leave those metropolitan areas where they felt tight, where they felt congested, areas that were very restrictive in whatever they were trying to do or accomplish. So our market just took off from there. And then the show Yellowstone hit. So the show Yellowstone, though in the past has been filmed primarily down in the Park City area and out towards western Montana, towards Missoula, we have had some filming here, and we're going to continue to have filming here in our area. But the story itself takes place in the Paradise Valley or the Livingston area of Montana. Well, that's 25 miles down the street that way.
Okay.
So that is very much, and they do some of the filming here in Bozeman. You can see them film restaurants and stores and bar scenes here in Bozeman. But that story takes place here in this area. So that has caused a great deal of, you can just see it on online searches. People search Yellowstone Ranch or Dutton Family Ranch or Paradise Valley. It's caused this area to have even more recognition.
What trends should potential relocators be aware of if they're deciding if Bozeman is the right place to relocate?
That is a really good question.
That's why I ask it.
That is an excellent question. So one of the, and this is going to seem counterintuitive, but areas need to grow. Areas need to have measured growth. Okay, and our city, our county, our areas, that has been a challenge for them at times.
Okay.
And we've had a lot more demand than we've had supply for homes. And so that has caused our average price points to really shoot up. So people think, well, I'm going to this remote area, I'm going to get away, I'm going to Bozeman, and they're a bit taken back and shocked by the prices of homes here. And I understand that. And also, water and sewer capacity or water and septic. Water being the main variable is we are in what's called a closed water basin. So all of our water comes from the basin that we live in. And our water is primarily what we call white gold, or it comes in the
Okay.
form of snow versus rain. So we're very protective and getting more so protective of our water resources. And that is also putting, it's not like back when I lived in Virginia or Kentucky where we had, hundreds of inches of water a year in the form of rain. We have to, if we don't have snow or we don't have rain, we are just so dry that we're really impacted by that.
Well, and people I find, especially when they live in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley area, and they're relocating to other areas, they do get a little bit of a sticker shock because our prices are so high because you can't, there's nowhere else to build. But then moving, like they think Bozeman, they're going to get the deal of, and it's not there. It's not as high as where we're at or New York or the East Coast, but it's up there. And so it's still to maintain and et cetera. But what I find is that in today's lifestyle, since over the last few years, people are relocating and being able to work remotely and enjoy a lifestyle such as Bozeman that they would not have enjoyed 10 years ago. So
Right.
it is a nice treat to be able to do, but the pricing can be a sticker shock. I understand.
The pricing can be a sticker shock, and we live differently here. And I understand that, yes, I did live in California for 8 years. However, being from the East Coast, where we tend to have, bigger yards. I mean, my parents live in a very, modest and average community, and they have about an acre or two. And my dad's constantly raking leaves and mowing grass and tending hydrangeas and roses and all that. Yes, when you move here, especially if you live within the city limits, you're going to have a smaller parcel. You're going to have a smaller lot, which is not uncommon to what we had in Southern California. But we live differently here. Year round, we are out. You're skiing, you're hiking, you're biking, you're fishing, you're in the park, our kids played baseball and softball and hockey, and we're very active, and we're very active year round. Where when I lived back east, I found that we cocooned maybe more in our backyards.
Yeah.
We don't do that as much here. You just live differently here. It's a
And
very active lifestyle.
and here we do the same. When the winter hits, we start to cocoon or we drive to the snow.
Mm-hmm.
A while ago, somebody had said to me, at the East Coast or the Midwest, they have the seasons. I said, we have the seasons here. We just don't know which day they're going to land on.
That's true. That's
So,
true. In Southern California, it was always 72 degrees and sunny. Thanksgiving wasn't going to be a whole lot different than Christmas or a whole lot different than Easter or even New Year's. So
yeah,
it is nice to have all four seasons
it
here.
is. What are some of the common challenges or pitfalls that people may face when relocating to Bozeman? And how do you help them navigate these issues, if we want to call them issues?
Well, they need a four-wheel drive car.
Okay.
Okay, so when you pull up and it's not the make of the car at all. When you pull up into Bozeman with maybe it's your Tahoe, which I've driven for years, or it's your 4Runner or whatever it is, and it's two-wheel drive, you're going to have to leave that somewhere else. You are going to need a four-wheel drive. And, kind of two rules of the road that I share with folks is when you're coming here, number one, leave your somewhere else, comma, somewhere else.
I love it.
And number two, whatever you're leaving and whatever you're running from, don't bring it here. This is a very special place for what it is. And that is something that Montanans take exception to, is when you want to bring your somewhere else and bring it here and make here like there.
Yeah.
That is something that is probably the biggest challenge that people face is, well, why don't you have this, or why don't you have that, or why don't you do it this way or that way? Well, There's probably a reason why.
So the pink flamingos that are sitting out in front of Palm Desert's homes may not fit as well in Bozeman.
They may not, except for Halloween. And I actually saw a lot of pink flamingos decorating yards at Halloween with various skeletons. It was actually kind of cute. But yes, and they're going to be covered in snow. Just gonna be gone. So it's just remembering you're moving here for a reason
Yeah,
and embrace that reason. Again, leave your somewhere else, somewhere else.
I love that. I'm going to remember that when people are
I
relocating
have several
here.
clients that have said they'll help me pay for that billboard.
Bozeman is known for its beautiful weather because I always hear you talking about it. And we've talked a little bit about the climate as far as snow, and it has all the seasons. How is the business and economic climate of Bozeman?
When I look at the state map of Bozeman, to me, Bozeman's got the most diversified economy in the state. It's not specific to oil and gas or specific to a university or specific to a military installation. It has a very diversified economy, and a lot of that has to do with Montana State University that is here and some of the businesses and industries that university has spun off. Montana State has always been the ag and engineering school. Like, for instance, like the laser industry has really blown up in Bozeman, in large part due to programs within Montana State University.
What is the laser industry?
I don't know.
Okay. Good, it's not just me.
I mean, no, that sounds really funny. We use laser technology
Okay.
in many different ways.
Okay.
For instance, one of my clients tells me with a company that she works with, she said, PollyAnna, not that your car has it now, but when you rent that car and you want to go over the yellow or the white line and your seat vibrates, well, we work on that technology here in Bozeman.
Okay, so that there's a laser out there. Gotcha.
Companies like FLIR, and you're going to laugh at me, but and my kids do sometimes when you watch the Finding Bigfoot show and they use their FLIR camera, that's a laser technology. So
I will never admit to watching that show.
we'll never admit watching it. High tech, a lot of computer. Our current governor started a company here in Bozeman called Right Now Technology that Oracle came in and purchased. And so Oracle is here in Bozeman. So we have a really growing high-tech sector. Let's just maybe summarize it that way. But laser technologies have a lot to do in that. And that has really come out of the great programs here at Montana State University. In addition to agriculture, in addition to a phenomenal business school, and of course a great football team. That is a large part. We've got a phenomenal hospital. And so various industries and businesses have grown around that. So Bozeman, in my opinion, has the most diversified economy in the state, which is very important.
And from your perspective, what are the top benefits for someone considering relocating, moving to Bozeman?
I'd say the lack of congestion, though, as locals, we now snicker a bit about the traffic that we have. When I go back to Southern California, I was in Seattle recently, I was in the Bay Area recently, Minneapolis recently, Houston recently. It's very constricting. I just feel very tight and very kind of smothered and a bit overwhelmed. So to come here, in 5 minutes, I can be out of town driving over to Livingston. 5 minutes, I can be out of town driving west out of Bozeman. And there's a reason why we call it Big Sky Country. And it's just a really special place. So the ability to breathe, the ability to move, the ability to get out and enjoy nature, Bozeman's got one of the best and most charming downtown Main Street communities. The stores are great. The restaurants are great. We've got a really vibrant and growing restaurant scene. We have opera. We have symphony. We have, for instance, one of my clients' daughters is going to be Clara in the Nutcracker
Oh, that's wonderful.
in a couple of weeks. So we're really excited about that. So we have, great theaters here. So it's just a smaller scale. It's hard for me to get on a plane and not know at least somebody either coming or going in and out of town, or go to a restaurant or go to an event and not know somebody, which I like that. We're not too small and we're not too big. And yet having a university provides a very educated and well-traveled community as well.
And that is a great place to be. It really is. Yesterday, I came back from Napa and it should have been an hour and 20-minute drive. It took me 3.5 hours. And everywhere where the map said to go this way to save time, something had happened. It was just like click, click, click. I was not meant to be home in an hour and 20 minutes. In what ways do you, as a real estate agent, provide value to someone relocating from another region or another state? And how do you differentiate yourself from other agents in Bozeman?
Well, I think I share a unique perspective in that I didn't grow up here, number one. I've lived here for just over 15 years now. This is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. So I have the perspective of living other places, though I don't want this to be those places. I have the experience of having moved a lot in my life. I've moved over 35 times in my life. So that experience of what's needed and where does that hand need to be held through that process. One of the things that my clients always compliment me on and we joke about is, in fact, I'm looking at some over here, I always pull out a map. I pull out a city of Bozeman map. And I want them to have some perspective and relativity on the scope and size of the area, because you pull out a map and they think, oh, well, that's, they're coming from the Bay Area. Well, it's going to take an hour to get from here to here. And I'm like, no, that's going to be about 9 minutes.
I understand that.
Yeah, I want them to see various aspects. And when I start with a client, we kind of start with a macro approach and then work our way down to areas that they like. Ultimately, what's important to them? Do they need to be near the university? Do they need to be near the hospital? Do they want to be out of town and maybe have an acre of property? What is most important for them? But they need to experience the area first before they do that. And so I've had clients walk in 10 years later and still have their map. And I think they should frame it, because that is no longer the city, but helping give them some relativity on the area, not just show them homes. What is it that they like to do? What do their children do? What do their spouses do to cause them? What do they need to be near in their daily or their weekend life? And helping them understand that.
It's really gathering that information and, like you just said, helping them understand. And we tend to lack doing that sometimes, and we get caught up in the hustle and bustle. I find that other real estate agents lack in that, especially when I'm holding a listing open and they say, oh, we didn't even realize this. We didn't realize this. We didn't realize we were so close to this. It's like, whoa, okay, how are you working with that realtor?
Right. And having multiple highlighters and say, okay, well, let's highlight this. Okay, here we are right now. Okay, here's where downtown is. Maybe here's where the, one or two of the high schools are. Here's where the elementary schools are, so that they have, so they have some relativity on it. Now, that's easier to do here. When we drive out, it's very easy to tell direction here, because again, it's big sky country and you can see various mountain ranges, and they give you, they help give you great direction. When I go home to my parents or my family back in either Virginia or Kentucky, and the leaves are in bloom and the trees have got, everything covered, I feel a little bit claustrophobic. And I can't tell which direction I'm going.
I can understand
here
that.
I can.
Yes. What is one piece of advice that you would give to someone that is going to be relocating to Bozeman?
I'm going to ask you, what do you think my answer is going to be?
Leave what you have.
Leave your somewhere else, comma.
Thank you.
Somewhere else.
See, I was listening.
Leave your
Perfect.
somewhere else, somewhere else. Come embrace Montana for Montana.
I love that. Um, we talked a little bit about that there's not enough inventory. Are we seeing in Bozeman multiple offers, or is it not as heavy as it is on the East Coast and the West Coast?
So I've done this now for 25 years. Okay. I've been through, I think this was my fifth presidential election. And every 4 years, we get this thing, what I affectionately call election constipation. And everyone just kind of freezes, and you really start to see it May, June of that election year. This year, we saw it almost a whole year ahead of time. And particularly as May and June and oh my goodness, August came along, it kind of froze. And it wasn't that I wasn't speaking to buyers or working with buyers. They were just kind of frozen in what they were going to do. Post-election, we're already starting to see that free up. Now, we'll get into the holidays, and most people will get distracted with things. You know, the folks I'll be talking to, which I'm talking to now, are people relocating here. And no, they're not from the Bay Area, but they're from Northern California. And they're relocating here. They want their children to have a different environment, or they want to have, just a life experience. They want something different. We're going to start to see that free up. Now, I always tell people I've worked in 4 markets between California, North Carolina, Colorado, and Montana. To me, the best time to sell in many instances is the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday until the end of May. And people look at me and they're like, well, why the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday? And I said, no, I've only tracked this for 25 years. But there is something in the American psyche that, yes, we do New Year. We have New Year's. And we make our New Year's resolutions. And then we hold our breath. And then once the Super Bowl is over, it's officially 2025. But not until the Super Bowl is over. And then people are like, okay, now we can move on with those New Year's resolutions. So really, the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday until the end of May is probably our busiest time. But that's been in 4 states. And then there's a little reprieve, June 15th to August 15th, and that's because kiddos are out of school and it's summertime.
Yeah.
And people are distracted. If they're moving in the summer, they've made the decision in most instances before the middle of June.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Okay. So it's vacations, it's family reunions, it's weddings, it's funerals, it's what we're going to the lake, whatever it is. So they're kind of distracted June through August. Though I find that that's a great time to be a buyer because you can sometimes negotiate more. Then we have a second swing to our market, and that's kind of September through, I'm going to say November 15th. And so we're just kind of wrapping towards the end of that. We're coming out of the election. And then November 15th to about January 15th, we're still in that holiday cycle in mode.
And where do you think most of your buyers are coming from or relocating from?
Well, I can tell you exactly where my buyers are coming from. We keep track of those statistics, and I actually, up on my bulletin board in my office, I have a little heat map that shows where people are coming from. So our big feeder markets are the Denver area, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Dallas and Houston, definitely the Bay Area, and even the Bay Area over Southern California. Southern California, yes, is a big feeder market for us, but I'd say almost the Bay Area is more than Southern California. And then Seattle, Minnesota, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, those are big feeder markets for us.
Oh. How do you see your area evolving in the next few years, and what impact might that have on new residents?
That's a really great question.
I love these questions.
And it's something that literally our city and our county are in those planning processes right now. How do we plan for, again, I mentioned that water conservation is a big factor for us because people think, well, it's Montana, I've got all this space to build on. Yes. How accessible is water? How far down are you going to have to drill for a well? What is the soil that you're building on? What are you going to have to do to prepare for that soil? We have many different types of soil just within a spit's throw of our area. There's certain places that are easier and maybe cost less to build on. So are you drilling for a well? Are you on city water? What type of septic system do you need to put in if you're not on city water and sewer? Various soil factors for foundations. And then, though a lot of our terrain is beautiful to look at, sometimes when there are not trees there, there's a reason why there's not trees there. And it could be an issue of water. Can trees even reach the water, or is it too far deep for them? And then wind is another factor for us as well.
Oh, I didn't even think about wind. Yeah.
Get a lot of wind. And when I'm showing a house, maybe in a bit more of a rural area, and they say, well, I'll just plant trees. And I'm like, well, look around you. There's not a tree for a mile. There are reasons why.
I'm hearing more and more about Bozeman's culinary. Can you tell us a little bit about the culinary experiences people, because I know some people think it's not going to happen being so remote that you can't have those experiences like we do in California or we do in New York, etc. Can you tell us a little bit about the culinary experiences in Bozeman?
I jokingly say just after we got indoor plumbing and internet, we also got great restaurants. And we have a lot of trout in our area, and however, people still do love a lot of seafood, and we have multiple planes that come in every day from, Seattle or the Bay Area that do bring in fish. We've got, I've got a great gal that we buy salmon from. She owns 2 fishing boats up in Alaska, and we buy a year's worth of salmon from her once a year.
That'll hook Casey, my daughter. It's her favorite is salmon.
It is amazing. We even get fresh oysters. I know you're going to find that shocking.
And she loves oysters.
You're gonna
At 10 years old, we started her on oysters, and she can't get enough of them. It's an expensive habit.
It's a very expensive habit. Sushi is a very expensive habit in my house, especially with the 23-year-old. We go out for sushi. First, we feed him a big bowl of noodles. If not, our sushi bill is going to be $350.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
The culinary scene has really taken off here. Though I will tell you, we really need a great Chinese restaurant. So if you have any clients that want to come here and open up a Chinese restaurant, I'm here to help them do that.
I will definitely keep that one in mind.
Keep that one in mind. We get great, our meats here are phenomenal. We get a lot of, and a diversification of meat from not only beef, phenomenal elk, bison is really good. And our restaurants have really worked around that and brought in a great diversification of offerings for a town this size, in an area this size.
That's terrific. Well, I have one last question, and this was not on the list. Would you
Yes,
mind?
Montana Estate will accept Casey.
Okay.
I'll make sure that happens.
So maybe 2 last questions. No, but last question. What is your favorite real estate story?
Alan, I have so many, and they span across the board. And I've been told for years one day I need to write a book. And what's funny is I'm probably going to name it. I had a client just the other day who had a refrigerator in her garage, and we were closing on her house, and another friend was taking it for a couple of months, and then another friend was going to take it until the client could actually build her garage and put the refrigerator in it. So we dubbed it something about the story of the traveling refrigerator. But when I'm working with a client, I always try to really put myself in their shoes. And I tell them, I'm going to treat your money like it's my money. Okay. And I'm going to give you a lot of coaching. I'm going to give you history on the area, where this area may go. Is this house one day going to be behind a busy road? Could there be another development behind it? I want to give you all the information as much as I can glean and have at that point in time. And I had some clients, some very affluent clients that looked at a lovely and very expensive home. I think the home was around maybe $35 million, which for our area, that's over the top.
I was going to say, is that entry level?
No, over the top. But it had a lot of unique features. It didn't have that much land. It had maybe 10 acres, but I was very concerned about the parcel behind the property. And I said, I don't know what's going to happen to that parcel behind this property. And you want a lot of privacy.
Yeah.
And I said, this is great, but I don't think this is the one for you. And that was maybe August or September. No, actually, that was maybe like February, March. By about September of that year, I said, there is a house coming on the market. It has 5 times the acreage. It doesn't have all the accoutrements of that one house. I said, but it's about 25% of the price. I said, for just a little bit more money, you can make it like that house, have 5 times the acreage, and be in it for probably half the price. And they have sent me so many referrals since then. That's one of those areas where helping them envision what they can make it and they can make it theirs was a really gratifying story. But then I have many stories of helping people, again, the downsizing stories of helping them take that next step to leaving their home and maybe even moving into assisted living. And maybe what we're selling is a $600,000 or a $700,000 home. That's just as gratifying to me.
Well, PollyAnna, it's what makes you so special at what you do. You are the number one person that I refer to in Bozeman, in Montana. And if I ever need questions answered or need information regarding the area, I know you're my go-to person. And I always thoroughly enjoy when we see each other at our networking events, our private office. There's so many different times that we see each other. It's just never enough. And we always have such a wonderful time. Your smile, and one of my favorite things is you always say to me, we have to get a picture. We have to get a picture, which we always do.
We have to get a picture. And, I really appreciate that, Alan. And for you or your clients or, folks within your network, it may not be Bozeman. It may not be Big Sky that's for them. Maybe it is Montana and maybe it's a different area. And I'm always just happy to help network to, maybe there's an agent or an advisor in another part of the state that would really be good for them. And I've done that several times.
And that's what sets you apart from everybody else, is that you take that time. And it's not just about the dollar, it's really about the client and the client needs.
Yeah, it's about the client, it's about the experience.
Well, PollyAnna Synder, Bozeman, Montana. If anyone needs assistance in that area, please refer to PollyAnna. And thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Alan, always appreciate you.